The Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Ojo, says he has met with some private organizations to raise money to clear the fines of inmates languishing in jail. He made the remark earlier today in an interview where he disclosed that over 4,000 inmates held in custodial centers across the country were unable to pay 500 million naira in fines slammed on them by judges and magistrates. The minister, who expressed worry over the high number of awaiting trial inmates in correctional facilities in the country, noted that he has initiated discussions with the Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, to see how such cases can be concluded. To further discuss the issues around congestion in correctional facilities, I'm being joined on the news by the Executive Director of Prisoners Rehabilitation and Welfare Action, Dr. Uju Agomoh. Thank you very much, Doctor, for giving us your time.
Be here. Thank you.
This issue of decongested correctional facilities in Nigeria has been there for ages, and lots of recommendations have been made by many, including your humble self. Why has it become so difficult for successive governments to find a solution to this problem?
For so many reasons. I think the first thing we need to understand is that this requires a multi-sectoral approach. So it's not one agency. It is something flowing from a dysfunctional criminal justice system. It's also something that requires more of what I will call a whole of society's approach. And this is why we consistently have this problem. But I would tell you that part of the key thing that we require is consistently, if the leadership, you will say, this needs to happen, there is the law, then there must be enabling ways of ensuring that these laws are implemented. We have, for example, the Nigerian Correctional Service Act of 2019. And in that law, there are very clear things that can be done to help decongest. But it's not being implemented. So I think that part of what we need to begin to do as a start off is how to make sure that these laws are implemented and checks and balances put in place all across the structure of the justice system. This is why that we're having this problem.
All right. Well, we're reliably informed that you had a meeting with the minister earlier today for this same issue. Can you share with us some of the key points of the meeting?
I think clearly there were a very good understanding from the minister in terms of some of the things that require to be done. I sense some great passion and knowledge around these issues, and Prawa committed itself to contributing towards this process in a more holistic manner. Again, one of the critical issues is about the congestion, as you know. The other thing is about non-custodial measures. It's important that we understand that corrections is in both parts, custodial and non-custodial measures. The minister also highlights that need in terms of non-custodial measures and things that need to happen to help coordinate efforts around this. Rehabilitation, reform, reintegration is also a very key aspect. How to make sure that things as simple as securing the facilities, things that relate to ensuring that health and also mental health, not just the physical health of these inmates are dealt with. So more or less, it's more of looking at sustainable interventions that will make the real impact. That's really some of the things that you mentioned, and we discussed ways to go for, at least starting off on that and ensuring that this is being sustained. And okay. We also, as I said, made our commitment, yes.
Quickly, how effective is the minister's idea of getting private organizations to pay fines for inmates? If the government is serious about decongesting the facilities, why should the fines be a stumbling block?
Okay, there are so many reasons why we have a lot of people in custody. Now, let's take the issue of fines. You know that the people who are giving fines, already from the fact that these are fines, it tells you that these people are not people who are at high risk. Okay? So the moment the fines are paid, these are people who have option of fines, they're supposed to go out. But you know that while they're in custody, government is spending money feeding them. So the question, therefore, it's that we need to make sure that there are different ways of addressing this fine. So one, whoever needs to play, private sector, government signing off if they can, whatever needs to be done should be done. I mean, I recall we started up what we call the fines for inmates, which was also something that was anchored, which is anchored this from the same Ministry of Interior, by the Ministry of Interior in the past. So I am thinking that when you talk about the private sector, is one aspect of it. So you must also deal with the source. So how do we put a complete stoppage to the issue of overutilization of custody? For God's sake, why will we be keeping people in custody just basically because of fine? Why don't, for example, you ask them to be on community service or get them to work and pay those fines themselves, rather than put them in custody where they get more, corrupted, including those who may have been just minor offenders. So
Trying to pick on what you said. Said they get. I'm sorry, doctor. You said they get more corrected. Isn't it called a correctional facility? I mean, is it?
Now, it is
What is common is that people go through that system and come out worse than they were. That should be worrisome. Isn't it a correctional facility?
It is the correctional facility. But first of all, let me explain. There are three main categories of persons you find in custody. Don't forget there are people who are innocent. There are people who are hardened criminals. There are, of course, the people who are minor offenders. So the critical thing that we believe that should be done is that you leave the custodial sentences for those who need to be in custody for rehabilitation, reformation, rehabilitation. Whereas the minor offenders and innocent people need not be there. Even in the police stations, one small hour you find a person in custody can get the person to begin to associate with more criminal-minded people. Yes, and then when you have the right people that needs to be in custody, you then can begin to identify what needs to be done for them. So I think that part of the reason why we have a high number of offending, which is the point you are making, is because we are not using custody the way we're supposed to use it. Okay?
Doctor.
So that's the point. People have been mixed. And that's wrong.
We certainly hope that these efforts being made will yield fruitful results. Thank you very much for speaking with us. We appreciate your time.